Christian. And happy January 51st, everyone. Well, actually, really, that's not the title of the video, but it sounded cool. This is our Reading and Northern Memories Part 2 video. So last year, like I said in the Memories video for 2017 and 2018 with my chases with the 425, I wanted to focus on the 425 a lot more this year, and I pretty much jumped the shark with it.
That's an understatement. Actually, no, it's not.
Mountaintop, Schuylkill Haven, Fall Foliage, Santa Steam Express.
Kind of overdid it is what he's trying to tell you.
I was down there 6 times in the past year. We've never done this before for our channel.
I think he's got a mad crush on it, but whatever.
We're done with 425 for a little bit. That's crazy that I'm saying that.
I mean, it's an impressive engine, but there's only so much you can actually cover with it.
Except Fall Foliage. Fall Foliage and Mountaintop would be the only 2 reasons I would make it back out this year. So like I said, in 2017, I went to go see the 425 just to literally cross it off my bucket list. That was literally the only reason I went to go see it. Things didn't pan out with seeing the Frisco 1630, and well, after driving through Pennsylvania for the first time, by myself at nighttime, in fog and everything else that hit it through me, I decided to get out of the state while there was still daylight. So I felt incomplete not chasing the 425 all the way through. Second time I went down there, I did justice to the chase, and then I saw all these other chases and wanted to focus on it more. Well, like I started off the video saying, I pretty much hit it out of the ballpark to the point where probably none of you guys want to see 425 anymore. Well, some of you may. Anyone who's never seen it has literally just been watching our channel this year be 425, 425, 425, 425.
It happens. People do that.
Yeah, I don't regret a single moment of focusing on 425 as much as what I did this year, but watching videos at the end of 2018, I wanted to see the Reading and Northern 425 a lot more. To me, I had missed a lot of good excursions. Schuylkill Haven Borough days, Mountaintop, and the Santa Claus Steam Special trains. It was actually the Santa Claus Steam Special trains that I really had to look around the area between Reading and Port Clinton. There is a lot of nice nooks and crannies that I have yet to really explore, and I'd like to film more of that portion of the line. So in 2019, I knew I definitely wanted to focus on the Reading and Northern a lot more. 425 had grown on to me, and it had become one of my favorite short lines. It was early 2019 when the Mountaintop Rotary Club announced they would be doing the Mountaintop Excursion again. It was going to operate on July 5th. Chris was unable to attend the weekend. I asked Chris to go on the Mountaintop Excursion originally. Well, I wanted to have 2 cameramen there, but that was also during one of the busiest weekends of Chris's job.
Yeah, that was holiday weekend, wasn't it?
4th of July.
Yeah, we get pretty busy at my store during 4th of July.
So I definitely knew I wanted to go. I wanted to bring my grandfather because I did want to have a second cameraman, because there was one shot I really wanted to get thanks to Railfan Tommy and a few other Railfans, and that was the Whitehaven Tunnel. But I knew trying to catch the train in Whitehaven at the old engine roundhouse would be a little on the tight side. So I didn't want to make it that tight. In 2019, knew I definitely wanted to go out and see the Schuylkill Haven Borough, wanted to go to Fall Foliage, and I also knew I wanted to focus on Fall Foliage a little bit more than what I had done in previous years. I wanted to spend at least 2 days there. Get new spots, get some old spots, and I definitely wanted to shoot the Tamaqua Tunnel and the Hometown High Bridge. In March, the Fall Foliage for 2019 was announced via Trains magazine. And also in March of 2019, it was announced that the Norfolk and Western 611 would be attending an event at the Strasburg Railroad known as the Reunion of Steam. So that did change up my October a little bit because I bought throttle time tickets, and I wanted to honestly spend one good day of chasing the 425 on the Fall Foliage train, so that is why. So knowing that I had bought early morning tickets and an early afternoon session ticket to run the 475 and 611, I knew that I would need 2 good solid days of chasing the 425 before I hiked to some of those. You don't really get too many other spots before without hiking to. Of the year for our channel for 2019 was definitely the Reading and Northern 425. In 2016 and 2017, that honor went out to the 1225. In 2018, that honor went out to the 4501 and 630. With Mountaintop, like any other excursion, I watched many different YouTube videos, specifically Railfan Tommy's. I know I watched NS Railfans. I watched many videos. On the mountaintop excursion, she wore a B&O 3 chime. Penobscot Yard and Mountaintop down to Jim Thorpe. From Penobscot to Whitehaven, there was a decent chase. From Whitehaven to Jim Thorpe, there was absolutely no chase because of the fact it went to the Lehigh Gorge. I had never shot a Lehigh Gorge train, and in 2019, the 425 did not operate on any of the Lehigh Gorge trains. So when the mountaintop excursion finally got there, I could not wait to chase it. It was me and my grandfather, and if I can honestly say, if there was any excursion that literally went according to plan with no issues, it was my chase of the mountaintop. So when I got there, I ran into my good friend Railfan Tommy, I ran into Ethan Trains Productions, I ran into Train Chamber again, I met his friend Train Fan 1015, or what he's also now known as, Big Banana Rail Fan. I met Ty the train guy, Railfan Productions. Hope I got that right, buddy. I saw NS Reading Railfan again. I ran into a lot of people. As one of the other reasons that sold me on Mountaintop was the fact that it went through the Lehigh Gorge. The Mountaintop excursion basically went from, and the chase went great. Like I said, everything, probably out of all of my chases, the Mountaintop excursion went according to plan. Like, there has been no other chase that has went that according to plan. I got the departing shot. I got the shot of them passing the Glen Summit Springs Water Company. There was this curve and a signal where the signal turned red as it passed. I got the curve in Whitehaven. I got them finally properly arriving in Jim Thorpe, which has been a shot I wanted for a while. In the afternoon, everything went as planned too. I put my grandfather in Glencoe and I went to CP Cole, and that is one thing I will talk about Mountaintop. I also set my grandfather up at the Whitehaven Roundhouse. I got the Whitehaven Tunnel, Glen Summit again, and them entering Penobscot Yard. The thing with the Mountaintop excursion that anyone will tell you, going down the mountain, the 425 really is not putting on that much of a show. Entering Jim Thorpe, it did. Climbing back up the mountain, I would say this is the second loudest I've ever heard the 425. When she came around the bend at CP Cole, I still cannot get over how deafening it was. Even my grandfather said to me when it climbed through Glencoe, wow. When we got up to Whitehaven, he shot at the roundhouse and I went to the tunnel, and like Railfan Tommy said, the stack was so loud at the Whitehaven tunnel, it hurt. I could not get over how loud it was as it came steaming out of that tunnel. Hands down, one of my favorite shots of the year. So before 6/11, Chris and I were deciding about going to Schuylkill Haven to see the 425. Then 6/11 pretty much jumped into everyone's schedule and said, no, this is your year now. And I'm trying to make it sound like a bad internet meme joke, like, you know, like those bad Valentine's Days ones. But the Schuylkill Haven Borough days, I knew going into it, there wasn't going to be that much of a chase because of the route it ran. There wasn't too many accessible crossings, and because of the fact that a lot of the crossings and a lot of the cool areas, it was really hard to try and get it at one spot and then think you'd be able to take all these back roads and get to another spot.
No, it wasn't.
So after experiencing the first day of the reunion of Steam, Chris and myself went to Reading the next day, and we started off at the Port Clinton Yards.
And it was really cold and kind of foggy.
By contrast to the day prior.
Mm-hmm. But what was actually kind of cool is I think on the way to the depot, the yard, we could actually see the steam coming off of this thing.
Yeah, because it was sitting
from
there.
a distance.
That day, it was wearing a shop-built Reading and Northern Custom 3 chime. It actually really reminded me of the whistle the Pennsylvania Railroad 1361 wore in 1987 for a little bit. It wasn't its original whistle, it was the other whistle it wore.
And seeing it in the yard was my first time seeing it, and I could see what all the hype was about. That thing puts out a lot of steam and a lot of noise.
We ran into the yard instantly, Ethan Trains Productions, Norfolk Southern Pittsburgh Line Productions. And while it would be before Auburn, before meeting him, GT Railfan Productions was there too. And as soon as the 425 got hooked onto the main, we went to Schuylkill Haven, where we were really in for a treat.
Okay, unbeknownst to us, they were actually running a double header with the 113.
Which I had chased the Christmas prior during the Santa Express excursions, and that is still one of my favorite chases from 2018. Unfortunately, she wasn't wearing that steamboat whistle. Neither was 425. I was kind of hoping it would wear the first go whistle. I get treated to that Christmas time. But they both entered Schuylkill Haven in quite an impressive show, actually.
Forget what street I was on, but that crossing I was on, I thought the shot that I got was almost perfect, except for the guard coming down in front of it.
Then afterwards we went for Auburn because that Pensy Bridge is bigger than the one in Hamburg, and it was actually, I thought it was definitely a neater shot than the one in Hamburg. But that's where we officially met GT Railfan Productions.
It was probably my favorite location of the day because it was just out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm kind of a sucker for old railroad bridges over creeks, and the shots we got were just absolutely perfect.
Then the rest of the day, I mean, pretty much if there was a day I got 425 on more bridges than any other day, the chutes, the bridge right outside of Landingsville, really the Schuylkill Haven borough days. If you live in Chicago, if you live in Washington, if you live in California, if you basically live anywhere without a 3-hour driving radius, as neat as Schuylkill Haven borough day is, as neat as it is to see both 113 and 425 fired up and traveling a rare route that you don't usually see the 425 on, it really is not an excursion I recommend to an out-of-stater who's never seen 425 before. She doesn't really put on her signature show. I mean, really the Auburn shot and the Landingsville curve and the curve coming into Schuylkill Haven are probably the best shots that day. Oh yeah, and Port Clinton. And you also get to chase 113. Well, it depends. At the end, some people chase the ferry back with 425. Then some chase the ferry back with 113. To me, it's only logical to chase the 113 back because it's actually leading where the diesel's towing the 425 back to Port Clinton. And it wasn't a bad day. If I did it again, I actually would like to ride this time. But Schuylkill Haven was nice. It was nice seeing 113 again, getting some different types of shots. But yeah, that was Schuylkill Haven. So, after hearing 2-3 chimes, when fall foliage came around, my grandfather was tagging along with me again on the second weekend, but I was hoping there'd be a little bit more of a variety. I was kind of hoping the Reading 6 chime would have went back on, or we could have heard something like the Southern Pacific 6 chime, or the Southern 6 chime, or a steamboat whistle. But when the first weekend of fall foliage came around, it was wearing the same whistle that it had during the Schuylkill Haven borough days. Which didn't sound bad, but at that point, you know, someone like myself was hoping to hear more of that variety that we had seen back in 2018. But again, like I said in the Iowa Interstate video, like I said in my top 5 videos, it doesn't matter what whistle's on the locomotive as long as she is steaming, but we all do have our preferences. Fall foliage on the first day that I chased, it was kind of insane for me. As soon as it was over with, I had to be back because I had an event on back home that I was actually running, which I knew full-fledged, but I got notification of that a month beforehand. So, day 1 of the fall foliage, while I did get a few shots that I had gotten before, I started out at the Peacock's Lock Viaduct cut. I went to Hamburg and I just shot at many different spots, including a small bridge I knew on the other side of the climb up to Tamaqua on the other side of Hometown Hill. I shot at Hecla. I shot at a different angle Hometown Hill. And I got the famous Peacock's Lock Viaduct to close out today, which is another one of my favorite shots from 2019. Weekend 2 at the 611 and 475 throttle time events. My grandfather came along to shoot me getting throttle time with 611 and 475, and it was a lot different than what I ever thought the event would be. It was a lot of fun, but that being said, as soon as we got done with 611, me and my grandfather both got in the car and we shot up to Reading. And what was the whistle on the second day of fall foliage? A Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Route 5 chime. The Frisco 1522 wore a CBQ 5 chime back in 1995 on its way back from Galesburg Railroad days. So if you would have closed your eyes for a second, you would have thought 425 was possibly 1522. And that was my favorite day of fall foliage. Even though the Chase 2, Jim Thorpe, got cut short, I got a few great shots that day as well, including the shot in downtown Tamaqua, the shot of him rounding the curve right there on the other side of Dreyersville, I think it is, the shot of him crossing the Washington Road Viaduct, and on the way back, I liked the Hometown Hill shot I got, I liked the Tamaqua shot, and it was just a great day chasing. I did get a few more familiar shots that day. That day had great light. Probably that and day one had terrific light. It was wearing a Lehigh short bell 3 chime on the last day I chased a fall foliage. Day 3, like I said, I wanted to go all out with the fall foliage this year because I've been chasing it for a few years and I wanted to hit up some great shots. Unfortunately, in 2019, I did not get the hometown hybrid shot. Looking at the only known way to get down there and looking at where the sun would have been, it would have been a backlit shot. And I would like to get that this year if 425 operates the fall foliage weekend. So day 3, I knew the shot I wanted to get before coming home was the famous Tamaqua Tunnel. And it wasn't as good as Whitehaven, but I absolutely loved the Tamaqua Tunnel shot. I also got the S-curve at Daubersville, got the inside curve shot that was inspired by the new Railfanning. One thing with fall foliage, on the first day I chased, I ran into Railfanning Tommy again, Ethan Train's production, Train Chamber, the Big Banana Railfanning, the Redding Railfanning, and the Nuga Railfanning. On day 2, I ran into the NS Redding Railfanning, and while I never actually ran into him again, me and Ethan Train's Productions definitely did chat back and forth during the day. I also saw my good friend on day 2, Dr. Funk 411. Last year I wanted to go all out on Steam in the Valley and really kind of mixed because I didn't get all the shots I wanted, and there were a few hiccups on that. This year in 2019, the fall foliage really went according to plan. I can honestly say if I missed fall foliage in 2020, it wouldn't bother me. But in the same token too, I didn't want that hometown hybrid shot, and there's definitely a few other shots I want to get on the line. So to put it out there, fall foliage, if it still happens, would be on the table for us. So for the Christmas trains this year, I would honestly rate the Christmas trains with Schuylkill Haven like I was saying earlier. If you're coming from another side of the country to see 425, unless you spend the whole weekend there, that is not the weekend to chase it. The 2 excursions I'd recommend for someone far, far, far away from where even I live would definitely be Fall Foliage and Mountaintop. Santa Claus Steam Special runs between Redding and Port Clinton. The problem with it is that it is such a tight chase, you'll get 1 to 2 shots. And that is how I ended up. They operated 4 weekends of Santa Claus Steam Special excursions. I joined in on the 2nd Saturday and the 3rd Saturday. I got a cab ride on the 2nd Saturday and then chased the rest of the day. And then on the 3rd weekend, I chased that Saturday as well. On the 1st weekend, she wore an Erie 3 chime. On the 2nd weekend, she wore a Frisco Hancock 3 chime long bell. And the 1st weekend had great light again. 425 did well. I hit up some new locations while trying to finally patch out the Hamburg S-curve shot, which I've wanted for years, and I've pretty much just given up on it, seeing how this time it was autofocus that ruined the shot. But the 2nd weekend definitely made up for that. Gloomy weather was in the forecast. But the 425 of that Frisco long bell sounded awesome. And it was just a great day. I finally got the northbound shot of the 425 going underneath the Pennsylvania Railroad Bridge in Hamburg. I got the most epic departing shot of the 425. While I did get some similar shots and more or less focused around Port Clinton, I would have liked it to have been a little better of a Christmas video, but it was still pretty good in my books. That being said, I shot 425 way too much last year. As much as I loved it this year, if anything, we'll try and definitely make a point of going back out for Mountaintop, and we'll definitely try and make a point of going back out for Fall Foliage. We definitely won't go out there 6 times. If the Lehigh Gorge trips happen again this year, I'd love to go back out for that. I'd love to shoot Mountaintop in a different range, and I'd love to spend 2 days with Fall Foliage.